like nothing you've ever seen.
It's a massive extraterrestrial invasion.
And they've come to take our planet.
That makes sense.
We need video game experts. These guys were champions back in '82.
Let the nerds take over!
Us? Huh?
You're kidding me. Don't tell anybody I killed the Smurf.
Pixels, rated PG-13.
Now, I would say that the most redeemable thing about that movie is the fact that Kevin James killed that Smurf, but after two lackluster Smurf animated movies that came after this, even that can't save this movie in general. Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we are taking a look at the 3 films that make up July 24, 2015, and we're starting off with the biggest of the new releases, because this one was the biggest grossing film of the weekend, of the new releases, but it was not a hit at all. Pixels, which is, on paper, sounds like a great idea. It's based off of a short film of the same name by a French director, Patrick Jean, and it centers around extraterrestrials misinterpreting video feeds of classic arcade games as a declaration of war, and invading Earth using technology inspired by games such as Pac-Man, Space Invaders, Arkanoid, Galaga, Centipede, Donkey Kong. To counter the alien assault, the United States hires former arcade champions to lead the planet's defense. It was directed by Chris Columbus, who was behind some of the biggest hits of several years ago. You know, the Home Alone movies, Mrs. Doubtfire. Terrific director. Of course, the Harry Potter director as well, of the first 2 movies. He did Percy Jackson a few years before this. So, this seems like a movie right up his alley. He also wrote Goonies, Gremlins. Again, a guy you would think would be perfect to make a movie like this. And Adam Sandler, you know, Adam Sandler's not a bad guy to be in this, until you realize that he's going to bring all of his buddies in here, and they're going to Sandlerize the hell out of this movie, just like they did with I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry, and look at how well that turned out. Well, you would think after so many bad Adam Sandler movies in a row, beginning all the way back with Just Go With It in 2011, there was honestly a sense that Pixels and Adam Sandler, with Chris Columbus and Adam Sandler doing something completely out of normal territory, where he's just doing one bad movie and after another just for the vacation. Something he literally admitted to when Just Go With It was coming out. So with this, there was a sense that maybe, just maybe, he could turn the tide and make something good again. Oh, that wishful thinking we had back then, because holy mother of God, this was a disaster on so many levels. It's not even funny. I mean, this is, instead of this being the Adam Sandler, hey, let's go on a vacation and make a movie about it mentality, Adam Sandler decides to take a movie that's supposed to honor the classic arcade and video games of the 80s and insult those fans of said games and telling them that loving these games is not for real men. I'm not even kidding. This actually happens in the movie. The entire movie is nothing but an insult on anybody who's played these old school games and try to make it seem like if you like these games, you're a fucking loser. I mean, no. Adam Sandler, you're a fucking loser. This is the kind of shit that makes people look at you and go like, what happened to this guy? Like, when you have a movie where Michelle Monaghan's lines, one of her lines is, let the nerds take over. It's just kind of like, what did somebody do to you back in the day? Like, what caused you to have this hatred for whatever you're trying to put in this film? Like, it's just like, he takes what could have been a pretty awesome concept and instead just makes it a movie to prove that he's still one of the cool hip bros. He was 49 when this movie was made, by the way. And this movie, oh my God, it failed on every single level because him and his cronies behind his shittiest comedies took it over and tried to appeal it to his broad-ass audiences that keep making these movies hits. Now, look, I mean, I can see now why Adam Sandler was one of those guys where he could be a likable guy in real life, but when he makes these terrible movies, it's just like, just get the fuck out of here, dude, because these movies he made around this time were getting worse and worse and worse, and he wasn't even trying to hide it. Like, as I said, he literally said he's making these movies for nothing but for vacations. That's literally what he said in one of his reviews, in one of his interviews he did for one of these films. It's no wonder why he basically just said, alright, I'm tired of you people making fun of me for my great work. I'm gonna go take my stuff over to Netflix. That way I won't have to deal with you assholes anymore. Yeah, believe it or not, this is actually the second Sony movie this year where somebody's film career basically came to an end. While Cameron Crowe's basically ended with Aloha earlier in the year, you know, Adam Sandler basically just said, fuck this shit, I'm out. I'm gonna go take this stuff to Netflix, where I'm gonna have much bigger success there, and sadly he has had better success there. But I mean, he does come back to theaters every once in a while for good stuff like Uncut Gems. But other than that, though, it's just kind of, and also Hotel Transylvania 3 and 2 and 3 because they did come out after this movie did, but you get the idea. Sandler's bad enough, but the rest of the cast, a good cast: Josh Gad, Peter Dinklage, Jane Krakowski, Michelle Monaghan, Ashley Benson, all talented actors who deserved it better than this. And there's Kevin James as the president, because, God help us if Kevin James can avoid being in one bad Adam Sandler-related comedy for once. I mean, it really is like they were trying to make him the next Chris Farley. But Chris Farley could have made the movies that Kevin James in funnier and actually more clever. But no, he's no longer with us, so we've got his backup, Kevin James. And Kevin James isn't a bad actor, but my God, man, it's just like every time he gets put in these Adam Sandler movies, he's nothing but the bumbling fat guy. And sure enough, he's the bumbling fat guy who is also president in this. This movie is terrible. Obviously, unfunny jokes in this they're terrible, unfunny bro humor that you would expect from one of these type of movies. Even when you try to throw in 80s music for humor's sake, it fails miserably. You can't just throw in Working for the Weekend with Sandler and Josh Gad shooting aliens out of the sky and expect it to automatically be funny. You have to have a hook to it. A gimmick to make it funny while also tying into the plot. Case in point, Regular Show. Regular Show had an episode where Mordecai and Rigby are trying to get extra money to go to this concert, and so they make a deal with this coffee bean that squirts coffee out of their nipples and gives it to Mordecai and Rigby, and that's when they start playing Working for the Weekend so they can start doing their work faster. That makes sense to put it in there. In this movie, it makes no sense whatsoever to what's going on in the scene itself, and you can barely hear the shit because Josh Gad won't shut the fuck up. Like, that's another problem with the movie. They take Josh Gad, a likable comedic actor, and basically just tell him, just make loud noises, because screaming and loud noises is comedy to us, and no, it's not comedy. It is not comedy at all. Like, the visuals can look impressive sometimes, but they're never enough to save the film. And like I said, the film not only insults video games, but the fans of these video games. What they did to Qbert in this is just insulting, especially at the end of the movie, where it's just like, when I saw that, I was just kind of like, oh, fuck you. Like, fuck you, Adam Sandler. Like, this movie is an insult to not just video game fans, to not just to audiences who like his movies, but to everybody that's going to be suckered into this movie. Like, this is Adam Sandler giving you nothing but the biggest F-you ever, the biggest F-you middle finger ever. The jokes are not funny, the script is terrible, the whole movie is an insult to video game lovers. This is not any form of entertainment whatsoever. This is a terrible, terrible film. This might be, now that I think about it, because you would think Jack and Jill is probably the worst thing he's ever been involved in. And it's definitely very high up there. And I would still probably say it is his worst film. But I would probably say Pixels is up there with his worst films yet. And that's saying a lot with that. Pixels, Happy Gilmore 2. I mean, that's the top three for me right there. Jack and Jill, Pixels, Happy Gilmore 2. I would put that in that order. That's how bad those movies are. And yeah, Adam Sandler has made some good stuff since then, but man, movies like this just make you go like, seriously, dude, what happened to you in high school that in the 1980s that made you want to make a movie where you're literally insulting the intelligence of the people that loved these games back in the day and still love these games? They still play these games more than they will watch this movie anytime soon. It's just bad. It's a bad, bad movie. Like, one of the biggest misfires of the year, easily. Just a terrible, terrible movie, man. But, hey, the good news is that it only gets better from here. We are going to get to much better movies, starting off with our next movie, which is easily the best of the entire weekend, Jake Gyllenhaal in Southpaw.
Don't get hit too much.
You ain't never been hit by a real man.
Let's go.
It'll be a year before your suspension's up. Zero income. I'm supposed to take care of my family.
Life is not about this, it's about this. You can control your destiny. Southpaw, rated R.
Definitely a little formulaic compared to other movies of this type. I mean, it is very much similar to stuff like Warrior, which is a really good movie overall. But then you've got a script written by Kurt Sutter, the creator of is the creator of Sons of Anarchy, one of the writers of The Shield, and a director like Antoine Fuqua. And it's just like, okay, there was definitely a lot of possibilities here. But this is a film that stars Gyllenhaal as a boxer who sets out to get his life back together after losing his wife to gun violence and later his young daughter to Child Protective Services. You have Rachel McAdams starring as his love interest in here, Forrest Whitaker, Naomi Harris, and you see 50 Cent in there, in a rare, really good dramatic performance from him. I mean, this movie overall is really good. And for a film that was originally intended to be an Eminem movie, I mean, Eminem was going to be in this film, and he was really passionate about the film until he eventually decided to focus on his music career again. To replace him with Jake Gyllenhaal, that was not a bad choice overall, and it is a very good film. Even though it is very formulaic, you definitely see a lot of the Rocky vibes in there, and also a little bit of Warrior too. But it works because the performances are very strong in here. The writing by Kirk Sutter is really good. And it is an engaging film where the performances really do stand out. The boxing sequences are really good. And it's not afraid to get dirty when it needs to. It's a very good, engaging film. It delivers on everything you can ask for and then some. It's a really solid film. And I would say it's a very underrated film, but it's a film that did kind of come and go. I mean, it made a lot of money when it came out, but you don't really hear a lot of people talk about it as much anymore. Not that you really ever hear people talk about Warrior anymore, but two really good boxing movies in the last couple of years. But then again, there was a far superior boxing film that came out later on in the year that we'll get to. With speaking of Rocky, we'll get to that one later on. But another thing I should note here is that James Horner, this was actually one of his last scores he did before he died, because he passed away, I think, the month or so when this came out. I think he actually died in an aircraft accident. He was one of the great composers, man. But, yeah, it was a shame that he passed away because, yeah, he was one of our great composers. This is one of his last movies he ever did. I mean, excellent composer overall, so. But, great film overall. If you haven't seen Southpaw yet, definitely check it out. It's definitely one I highly recommend checking out, so. With that said, let's move along with our last movie that we have here, and that is the follow-up to The Fault in Our Stars, from the writer of The Fault in Our Stars. This is Paper Towns.
Now, you're giving me the minivan. Awesome. Duke in the fall. Kids by 30. I got it all mapped out.
Doesn't really make sense for us to go our teenage years never having been to a high school party.
We've been to plenty of parties.
There's a tuba there. It's not a party.
Margo?
I need to borrow your car.
What?
This is going to be the best night of your life. Are you in or out?
You feel my heart beating in my chest.
That is the way you should feel your whole life.
Margo loved mysteries so much she became one.
She's gone.
When was the last time you saw Margo? I found something.
I think she's sending you a message. Come find me.
You'll go to the paper towns and you'll never come back.
I'm going with you.
If she's going, I'm definitely going.
Take a risk. That's what she's been trying to tell me the whole time.
You have to get lost before you find yourself.
I was trying to figure out why I actually like this movie a lot more than I expected to, but then I see the director of this is the same guy that brought us Beef and also just recently directed Thunderbolts, Jake Shire, and this was written by Scott Neufstader and Michael H. Weber, the writers of 500 Days of Summer, and I thought to myself, oh, that's why. Actually, I really did enjoy this movie a lot. I thought it was actually surprisingly really good. Like I said, it's based off of one of John Green's novels, of course, the writer of The Fault in Our Stars from the year before. And it follows the story of Quentin Q. Jacobson, played by Nat Wolff, who's searching for Margot Ralph Spiegelman, played by Cara Delevingne, his childhood friend and object of affection. In the process, Quentin explores a relationship with his friends, including his compatibility with Margot. The other characters in here played by Halston Sage, who will later sing Goosebumps, and also the Scott's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse, Justice Smith, who's going to be later seen in the Jurassic World movies, and Detective Pikachu, as well as Austin Abrams, Jazz Sinclair. And cast it also includes Anson Elgort in one of his early film roles. But, yeah, I was actually surprised at how much I really enjoyed this movie. And I think it was because this one definitely had a much better writing and directing team than The Fault in Our Stars did. I didn't think The Fault in Our Stars was bad, but I just thought it was just mostly kind of a generic movie. Nothing really that spectacular or amazing. But, yeah, this one was surprisingly really good. You do buy the relationship between Wolff and Delevingne. And you think to yourself, this actress is really good. And you think, she's going to have a bright future ahead of her. And then the next thing you see her in is as the Harlem Shake princess in Suicide Squad. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we'll wait till the summer of 2016 for that. But, But in here, she is really good. She actually is giving a very good performance. You do like following these characters overall. It's basically a coming-of-age road trip adventure movie, kind of. I mean, it's a movie where they're trying to figure out where this girl is and, you know, find out what kind of a connection they both have together. And it's a really engaging film, and it works very well overall. But unfortunately, it didn't do the numbers that they were hoping for. They were expecting this to be, you know, kind of another Fault in Our Stars. This was not a high-budgeted movie either. This was only a $12 million film, bringing in about $86 million. So it did make money, but it did kind of shut down a little bit, you know, the adaptations of John Green's works. Because they were setting John Green up to be kind of the next Nicholas Sparks, but it never really got that way. But, you know, a couple of other movies he did since then were Let It Snow, Del Beccarara, which I have no idea what that is, and Turtles All the Way Down, which is his most recent film. I think most of them went straight to Netflix, but Netflix and Hulu with one of his other ones, Looking for Alaska. So he didn't quite have the Nicholas Sparks thunder like you know, somebody like a Colleen Hoover nowadays has, because, you know, 2 years ago It Ends With Us, and then Regretting You was a big hit, and now more recently we have reminders of him. But yeah, this movie overall is really good. I actually was kind of surprised at how much I enjoyed it. It's definitely one you want to check out. If you go into it thinking that you're going to get something completely different, if you go into thinking you're going to see the same thing like The Fault in Our Stars, you're not going to get that here. That's what I'm trying to say. It works. It's a surprisingly effective movie. You do like the characters. You do like what they're trying to go through. And it is a very solid film. One of the real big surprises of the summer so far for me. A film I was not expecting to really enjoy, and lo and behold, I actually kind of enjoyed it pretty well. So, yeah, definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it. Paper Towns, definitely worth it. And so, with all that said, we wrap up another episode of Time About the Movies, and the next time we meet, we'll wrap July up with the latest Mission Impossible movie, Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, directed by the director of Jack Reacher, Christopher McQuarrie. But we also have a movie I've been waiting to get to because, yeah, not in a good way, because right here is everything that is wrong with remaking a classic movie from the 1980s. Vacation. We'll take a look at that. We'll also take a look at Jason Segel and Jesse Eisenberg starring in the latest film from the director of The Spectacular, Now, The End of the Tour. We'll take a look at those 3 films. That'll be coming up tomorrow here on the channel, so stay tuned for that. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching this, and I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the previous episode we did. So with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.